Hello there. Welcome to whatever we're calling this show. Hello, dear viewers. Welcome back to SiDEQUEST. So, to twist things around a little bit before I get into things, I'd like to ask you, my friends, what do you think a blaster is? What is a blaster? You know, we see them in all the films and whatever, but what are they? They're not guns. What do you think a blaster is?
Well, I don't know. I've thought a lot about the technology to make, because I'm kind of a firearm enthusiast. Not that I own any, but just I like to read about them and see them in movies. And I thought a lot about the mechanics of, you know, at least where we are today. Of course, it's the same thing with lightsabers, right? I mean, you know, we don't have how they make a laser beam that goes out and reflects back and doesn't keep going. And so how, you know, will they be able to do that with a device that, you know, can shoot a laser beam? But obviously, like most movies, it's in the, like the movies used to be in the 50s and 60s, you know, a 6-shooter would shoot 1,200 bullets before it ended up being out of bullets. So that kind of is where we're at with blaster technology now, and yet it looks more of like a bolt than a laser beam. So I don't know, man. I have no idea what they're trying to come across with. It looks cool. I just don't. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be.
Well, you know more than a lot of people. Because most people just say, "Oh, it's a laser gun," because it's a. But however, they are most certainly are not, because in reality, a laser would go at light speed, and it's believed that, you know, real life laser weapons would not be in the visible spectrum. So, what are they in actuality? Well, as it turns out, you know what the whole deal with Cloud City is? Like they call it the mining colony. What are they mining on a gas giant? They're mining gas. They use the Tibanna gas from Best, but what they use the carbonite freezing chamber for? It's not for people. It's to freeze that gas to ship it off to be made into basically the ammo for blasters. They get superheated and turn into, I'm not sure if it's necessarily, sources have gone back and forth whether it's just superheated gas or true plasma, which would require ionization. But so they are, a blaster bolt is superheated gas contained within a magnetic field. So I just find that fascinating, because, you know, everybody, you know, the colloquial sci-fi weapon is laser gun, but there's more. I like that Star Wars has done a little more with that. It's just there's a semi-plausible scientific explanation for, because that's not how lasers are, and then the people are gonna say, but what about, you know, on the, you know, big Star Destroyers, they call those turbo lasers. The Death Star has its super laser. They say it's lasers in the name. As it turns out, that's just in universe. That's just a remnant of a time in which laser weaponry was more commonplace. Because, you know, the same way a missile nowadays is, you know, a big explosive tube thing. Previously, a missile was just something that was fired from a ballista, unless I'm mistaken. They were like arrows and stuff, arrowy type things. My medieval knowledge is not the best, but so in a similar way, it's just a colloquialism to refer to them as lasers, even though they're not. But
so that would make sense, because in art, like, you would have like somebody advertising for George Lucas's movies like back in the day, and their depiction of a laser is like what a laser is. It's just a continuous flow of energy, right?
Exactly.
And then on the other hand, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, because then you're like cutting stuff in half, so filming that's going to be a little hard. So everybody's got a lightsaber attached to the end of their gun that can extend.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be like, nope, it just goes on. It's like that XKCD comic. It's like, I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. It just activates, it just goes through. It's like, so when does it stop? It doesn't. I'll post that.
Okay, so that's actually... Okay, so you know how, like, on the end of a lightsaber, there's a little adjuster wheel? Mm-hmm. Okay, I saw this little meme. It was hilarious. These little two stick people. One guy is doing, like, all the stuff like Ahsoka Tano. Like, he's flipping and spinning his lightsaber and doing all this crazy jiu-jitsu stuff. And then, like, the other guy, like, on the other end, like, there's one stick figure on one end, one stick figure on the other, and the one guy's doing all this crazy stuff, and the other guy just kind of pulls his lightsaber out of his belt and just hits the button. Just reaches all the way across and, like, just kills the guy. And he, like, it's like a guy, like, I imagine, like, a scientist, like, you know, oh, that's cool, and then just uses, like, science and, like, I don't know. I just love that. Anyway,
you need to send me that. That's
I can't. I'm able to find it because it's on Discord, because that's how I can't remember. I think I said it to Tim. You guys met him, or Silas, the leader of the Paragons of Fear. Like, there was a back. I'll send it to you. It's pretty funny. Okay, I'm done.
If you do, I'll post it here. But anyway, so people have there's been a lot. I've read a lot of debates online about the merits of blasters versus firearms. They're like, oh, blasters are dumb. They, you know, they can be deflected. They're so slow. They're like, well, here's the thing. Yes, in comparison to real life firearms in Star Wars, they call slug throwers. Yes, they are extraordinarily slow, even dodgeable by some people. However, actually, there was a the Mythbusters did a analysis of that, and by their calculations, the average speed of a blaster bolt is 130 miles per hour, 210 kilometers per hour, which, yeah, you can't really dodge that, even though they do that call it the Force, whatever. But that is still significantly slower than a real bullet. However, people forget the sheer versatility of blasters, because people say, oh, yet another one of the inconsistencies in Star Wars. Blasters have super inconsistent power behind them. You know, in Mos Eisley, I guess in this case Han's DL-44, it blasts apart like meter-wide things of concrete, like when he's shooting at the stormtroopers. But, you know, on Endor, that stormtrooper shoots at Leia, there's just like a slight burn on her arm. No, that's addressed in the lore. Power settings. Ramp it up if you want to do a lot of damage. Ramp it low if you want to conserve ammo. It's and not.
I was thinking from the artistic standpoint of, like, the stuff breaks away just because that's the material and, like, flesh absorbs. I don't know. Think about it, like the magical property of flesh being able to absorb, whereas some kind of, you know, whatever you want to call it, plasteel, plaster or something. They got a cool way of saying it in Star Wars.
Yes, there's a lot of materials, but in no way would flesh be more durable than to any sort of thermal energy like that. But the other thing I was saying was blasters have stun settings. Imagine how useful that would be in real life. Like, there's hostage situations or whatever. No, just stun. Ta-da. Boom.
But does stun have ammo? Because in, like, the, you know, maybe this is just how you make film, but whatever, in the Bad Batch, like, man, they never shoot a single clone except for like the first time when they engage with clones, and from then on, like, they're just using the stun ray. So does a stun ray have an ammo like capacity?
I would imagine there's some. I'm not sure that's ever been stated in any source book or whatever, but I would imagine they use a certain amount of energy. Like there's clearly an electric discharge of sorts. It must utilize some level of the, because blasters have two components to them that to activate the actual fire rate. There's the power cell and the gas canister charge. I forget the terminology. Oh, that also brings up to another thing of comparison to real life. You know, because a magazine of like 4 7.62 rounds in a real bullet, that sort of the equivalent quote unquote gas canister for a blaster allows for like 300 shots. So that on its own would be enough for any military to be like, okay, no, this is the most efficient thing ever. Because I mean, that's the funny thing, right? Because, you know, everything in Star Wars was, everything in terms of weapons was sourced from World War II leftover stuff. Like the Stormtroopers E11s, those are just Sterling submachine guns. The Han's DL-44, that's a Mauser. Everybody just put a bunch of scopes on top of it, even if it doesn't make any sense. Why does pistol have 2 scopes? I don't freaking know.
Well, I mean, but think about it. Also, so like back in the 70s when he's making all this, like that industry, there were no, according to him, that there were no movies that were being done on that grandiose wartime kind of scale. Those were all kind of back in like the 50s and stuff. Like,
it's not a criticism at all. I'm just saying.
No, it's genius, right?
Yeah.
Like you use the cheapest prop possible, and it becomes like canon, and yet it's got a gritty feel to it that makes you think that like it's a dystopian future where nothing is, you know, like,
exactly.
But you know what I mean?
I know exactly what. Yeah, no. You know, people say it's like, yes, no, I like Star Wars because there's, you know, no relation to real world whatsoever. It's like, well, there's tiny little things here. There's that you notice that things like there. You know, Tatooine is named after a town in Tunisia, right? Just spelled Tataouine.
Opportunity for me to jump in. I told some raptor that I was going to put him on the spot tonight, so I have a question for him.
Oh boy.
I think he's going to be able to give us the answer. I hope he's going to be able to give us the answer, but why can a stormtrooper never hit anything?
Okay. So, I am going to post a link in the description to, or just put it up here up on screen. Stormtroopers are not actually poor shots. That's entirely misconception. If you analyze the original film, on the Tantive 4, when they're boarding, they have their boarding party under very, you know, intense conditions. They actually hit most of their shots and annihilate the Rebel force easily. But people say, oh, but on the Death Star, you know, they were like Han, Luke, and Leia, and whoever. They were just dodging, weaving back and forth. They listen to the dialogue. Tarkin specifically says he had the technicians put a tracking device on the Millennium Falcon. They let them get away. So, Stormtroopers are such good shots that they are able to convincingly make it seem that they are trying to get them killed, but that's still tricking it's. And then you go to Empire Strikes Back. The Empire's sweeping up all the Rebel forces on Hoth. Then we get to Endor, in which I will continue to say, "Oh, the teddy bear." Ewoks are feral, dude. Like they will. Like, are you ignoring that they captured the heroes who have plot armor They were going to cook them. like people say, oh, but how they died to stormtroopers, died to arrows, ATSTs get crushed by logs. People have done real analysis of smaller logs against against light armored vehicles. They do the same type of damage in real life. It's actually it doesn't explode, but it is crushed. And there are gaps in stormtrooper armor, so arrows can anyway. It's just sorry. And then, but of course, it seems that in the Disney era, people didn't pay enough attention to that. Just listen to the lol, stormtroopers, bad shots, haha. So, I guess by transitive properties, stormtroopers are now incompetent as they appear in like Star Wars Rebels or well, in Rogue One, they're actually pretty fearsome, but
yeah, they are.
In Andor too. Andor, I can't praise Andor enough. But yeah, no, in Rebels they're a complete joke. And even in The Mandalorian, it's like what was it when Bill Burr's character was like, it's like he was an Imperial sharpshooter. That's not saying much. I wasn't a stormtrooper, so that I guess it implies that now in universe, yes, they are known for being incompetent. But I don't know. That's my ramble.
Okay.
I like it.
Thank you.
Open up such a can of worms because I still really wanted to talk about 200,000 BBY. How the gel, how it's going from THX. Remember, we're sticking with the plot line for what is it? Supernatural Encounters.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing a complete 180 on our.
It is. There's so many things, but I don't want to go into that today. What I do want to go into to stick along with the theme of the day.
Okay.
All right. So we all say that the stormtroopers are bad shots based on what you see in the movie, right? Okay. Well, think about it. If you know, I think it might be Heir to the Empire. Is Heir to the Empire about Thrawn?
Correct.
Okay. In that, there was a wonderful version. I wish that we'd probably find the link, but somebody did an animated version of that and put it out there on YouTube. Fantastic. And in that, you basically get to see that the Emperor had, what do you call that? Battle meditation? So
yes.
So when all of that, when like he's trying to sit there and he's trying to look at Luke and convince Luke like that, he's centering all of his energy. Basically, he knew at that moment, like, I've got to stop Luke from becoming a Jedi or having the resolve to become a Jedi. And so he released his grip on his troops. And at that time, everything started getting messed up. Yes. And then when he dies, they're finally defeated because all the battle meditation is gone. And his spirit has...
So for people who don't know, battle meditation is a term for certain Force users can amplify the focus and resolve, basically completely turn morale really good by basically they augment the capabilities of troops around them. And as Bastila Shan is a great example of that in KOTOR. But yes, the Emperor was doing that to whenever he was near any troops. But as such, that ended up when they were cut off from that caused like complete disorientation among all those troops. Even disregarding the whole. Seeing the Death Star blow up in the sky, it's like, oh, we're not gonna drop an F-bomb. We're Crift now. We're what are other Star Wars swears? Dank Ferric.
We said we were gonna practice it. I'm proud. Gosh darn it! And for the audience, you guys can hear this part, and we'll probably cover up any other words that get dropped here. But we're gonna keep our show clean because we want little kids to watch the show, and we pay. As a group, through our time or through our effort or through whatever we do, we pay to make sure that you get clean content at the end of the day coming from this little group, and we want stuff that everybody can consume. So there is
like an F-bomb or something in an early episode without realizing.
I mean, but the thing, it's like anything, like you can, like, you guys can take the time to edit like what you want to edit and make it appropriate for all, even if you as a person are you're fallible, right? But we're going to make our work as infallible as possible. We're going to try our best to make it something that doesn't. But anyway, that I just think that's cool about this group. Okay, really quick, and then you get rid of me. Okay, so to go along with the rest of it, with the whole entire, their terrible shots and everything. Think about all the times you see stormtroopers shooting in the movies. The majority of the time, they're shooting at Luke or Leia or somebody that is somehow connected strongly in the Force.
This is true.
It is so easy to think that Obi-Wan can basically wave his hand and say, these are not the droids you're looking for. But we dare to consider the fact that Luke, in his battle aggression, just the thoughts that he's having, like, you're gonna miss me.
Yeah. Sitting there, once you're in flow with the Force, it's very. I mean, it's the same way that Revenge of the Sith at the very beginning, Anakin and Obi-Wan fly through that swarm of vulture droids without getting shot, even though their ships have no shields. It's just that people don't realize. Yeah, no, like the same. It's the exact same reason why in universe why lightsaber duels look so choreographed. Is when you have two precognitive beings, it's not gonna look like a real life duel. Or basically, when people follow the will of the Force, it allows for things that would appear to be extraordinary luck to, as Obi-Wan himself puts, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. So, But
what was his name?
The dude.
Hey,
yeah, that's just like your opinion, man. I can't do it very good. Like Big Lebowski. I can't do it. Sorry, Jeff Bridges. But
can I? One last little tidbit of information. I think this one's really cool. There's a story back during the French and Indian War about George Washington, and that Indians basically said that the man was protected by magic. That Indians are, you survive on how many shots that you can trade at that point, so you're not gonna miss, right? And like these guys are swearing that like I shot him. There's no way I missed. Like, and hundreds of guys sitting there and that just like bullets would just like fade away from him, or they would drop, or they would miss him by like just little. That kind of stuff is real. Like when you're noble, like when your cause is noble and stuff like that, you'd be surprised. And people don't think about, I'm driving to work to go do whatever, and that's not very noble. But think about it in the right light though. And think about how many like misses you've had in your life where your life was just about to end, and you made some quick little calculation or some like little thing that you can think about in your own life, but it happens every day to people. There's a lot of magic in this world. All right, I'm off.
Okay. Well, I
had one point.
Oh, go on. Yeah, we're quite over time, but please, you know what? Might as well just.
No, it's just this is real quick. It was about the game.
Sure.
That's why they put that. The first point you made was why they put battle readiness in back in, I don't know, release 6, 5. There was I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a battle readiness.
An ability that you can use that would basically plug
that was put in the game for a while.
So why it would boost allies? HP
yeah, that's what it was. It was to do was to build. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, there we are. It's lore. But all right, yes. Yeah, quite over time right now, but regardless, I think this was a good episode, and thank you, dear viewer, for joining us. And
it's been fun.
May the Force be with you. Love this.